In Baltimore, the Lamar Jackson situation was surprisingly resolved just before the draft. They've added Odell Beckham Jr. They're converting to an offense that seems to be more premised on passing than it has been in the past. Meanwhile, running back J.K. Dobbins entering the final year of his rookie contract at a base salary of $1.931 million. He's not happy with the situation. He gave an interview to, I think, WJZ-TV in Baltimore. We have an item posted at PFT via Jamison Hensley of ESPN.com with some of the quotes. The business is hard. That's what Dobbins says. And look, it's a tough spot for him because when he plays at a high level. 6.0 yards per carry as a rookie when he had over 800 yards, 5.7 yards per carry last year in half of the season as he was recovering from and continued to recover from the torn ACL that wiped out his second year. Here's J.K. Dobbins from this week talking about the business realities of the NFL.
All the camps were complete. We didn't see you on the field, but you did say some things on social media about wanting to be a Raven. Where do you stand, JK? What can you say?
What the thing I can say is I would love to be a Baltimore Raven for the rest of my career. I would love to, because I love the city. I love the people. It feels like family here. Like, it feels like home here, my second home. You know, and I hope that happens. I hope that happens.
You're a football player, but you have wide-ranging interests and abilities. And in many ways, you have to be a businessman.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like the business side of what you do, or is it hard?
The business side is very hard. It's very different. It's different. But it's part of it. It's part of the dream, and it's something that I'm blessed with, to deal with the business side of that. You know, you saw with Lamar, it's never just roses and daisies. It can be hard at times, you know, and it's business though. So it's part of the dream though.
The games that Lamar Jackson missed last year after he suffered the injury in early December against the Broncos, J.K. Dobbins averaged 7 yards per carry. 7 yards per carry without Lamar Jackson on the field. He had 15 carries for 120, 13 for 125, 12 for 59, 17 for 93. So this guy has proven he can move the chains. Here's the problem, though. That ACL injury, it's a risk that's inherent to the position. It's a risk that's inherent to football, really. I was going to say for everybody except punters and kickers, but hell, Martin Gramatica tore his ACL celebrating a field goal years ago. So anybody out there on that field can suffer a torn ACL. It happened to him. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He's going to perform, by all appearances, if he stays healthy, at a high level. But when it's time to get paid, he's not going to get paid for what he did this year. That's the problem. So he's kind of taking a stand now, trying to get his contract, trying to get the Ravens to pay him for what he believes he's going to do this year. That is hard to do because, Myles, he doesn't have a lot of leverage. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? Not show up for training camp? Hold in? What are the Ravens going to do? At some point, they're going to say, we got to play football. You're due to make $1.9 million. Let's see what you do this year, and then we'll work it out next year. But next year, they have the franchise tag. And then next year, he's Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley, delayed by at least a year from getting to the market and getting the contract that he needs to get before he's too banged up and too old as a running back to get it.
Yeah, this is a really tough situation because I do understand J.K. Dobbins' perspective of, look, when I'm out there and when I'm healthy and when I play, I am an elite running back, and he absolutely is. And you cited the numbers of his average per carry, not just from his rookie year, but from also last year. But I think if you're Baltimore, you also have guys like Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, guys who have shown that they can play, that they can be effective. I mean, you also have Keaton Mitchell owned right on the roster, and they're rookies. So if you're J.K. Dobbins, you don't play a position right now that has any kind of good leverage when it comes to trying to get paid. Because look at what's happened over the league right now with veteran running backs who are good, right? Saquon Barkley doesn't have a new deal. Josh Jacobs doesn't have a new deal. Tony Pollard doesn't have a new deal. And we haven't even really heard any discussion about what they could get aside from just signing their franchise tender. Look at what Austin Eckler went through with the Los Angeles Chargers. where nobody wanted to trade for him because they were going to have to pay him, and nobody wanted to pay him what he wanted. So we ended up having to take an incentive-laden deal that won't even get him to that franchise tender number of $10.1 million roughly. So I understand what he's doing, what J.K. Dobbins is doing right now, but I don't know that there's really much for him, especially on the Ravens roster where they've got other guys who, yeah, they're not quite as good as J.K. Dobbins, but they're effective. I'm not sure where this could go.
There was an effort several years ago to create a separate bargaining unit consisting solely of running backs. It didn't get very far, but I hope somebody out there with a vested interest in that subject is considering options for doing that, because I really do believe of all the positions on the field, running back should have its own group, its own negotiating stance, because they are getting screwed or bleeped, yes, to use your term from earlier in the show, by the system. The system is screwing them because their best years come under their rookie wage scale contracts. By the time they're in position to get a second contract, it's not what have you done for me lately, it's what are you doing for me right now, what can you do for me tomorrow? I don't care that you had 1,500 yards 2 years ago. What we're talking about is what's going forward. You've been banged up, you're 26 now, we can go get a guy and pay him bargain basement rates in comparison to veteran players and just beat the hell out of him and give him the ball 25 times a game and never pay him either. Right. I've argued, and this was an idea that Chris Sims had, and I've been pushing it, a fund that pays the young running backs in the NFL who come out and play well. It's not from any one team. It's just a fund like the performance-based pay system. Something, though. But I think the running backs need to come together and try to create their own union, their own bargaining unit, because the system is screwing them. And their only answer, Myles, is to just don't play running back. Dry up the supply. That's the problem. There's too many running backs. So if you're a great athlete that thinks he can make it to the NFL, resist the very strong temptation by the low-level coach to just say, well, let's just give the ball to him, and he'll run circles around everyone. And before you know it, it's too late to play a different position.
Right, exactly. You need to go be a wide receiver. You need to go be a cornerback. I mean, those are the premium positions right now that are really getting paid. And when you have those positions that are getting paid like that, and then you have this position at running back that does touch the ball more, but gets paid like they're getting paid, something kind of just is not quite right with that picture. And so, yeah, it's the supply and demand issue. But at some point, something's got to give where running backs are getting paid like the production that they put out there on the field. I mean, or commiserate with the production that they put out on the field, because they just aren't right now. And I don't think that that's fair. I really don't.
Well, running backs of the NFL, we may not be the advocates you want, but we're the advocates you're stuck with, at least for now, until we get somebody better equipped than we are to get you what you deserve, which is your own seat at the table, your own piece of the pie, and you don't have to deal with this current system that truly screws you relative to the other positions on the field. And oh, by the way, we don't have time to play the sound, but you get the impression J.K. Dobbins could have practiced this week at mandatory minicamp, but maybe chose not to, and I don't blame him. Why go out there and risk an aggravation of your ACL tear? Why put yourself at risk of any injury when you've got 6 weeks until training camp and hopefully the Ravens will sign you? Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.